All right. All right, we're going to send it over to Facebook now. And go live. All right, John Sullivan, can you hear me?
I can, so yep.
All right, good job. Excellent. We are starting live with Mastermind with Neil Schwartz and our special guest, John Sullivan from Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's hear it for John. Woohoo! All right, we're looking forward to this conversation, John. I always find you fascinating, enlightening, bright, and level-headed. Would you call yourself level-headed?
What's your definition of level-headed?
You.
Then sure, yeah.
Okay, good. I love it. Excellent. So, John, we've had you on a couple times, and we really appreciate it. Learn a lot from you. We've watched your career from, gosh, the very, very, very beginning,
Yeah.
when you were doing a few sales and living the life. And I kind of wanted you to take a couple minutes, if you wouldn't mind, and share with the group how you ended up as an okay, your words, average, okay goalie in England playing professional soccer.
Yeah.
And then how did you get to Las Vegas and ending up making a career out of it, a very successful career out of real estate in Las Vegas? You want to share that a little bit for us first?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was actually playing for a team called Wimbledon, and I went on loan to them. So, like, for the end of the season, they were in a bit of a bad situation. So I went on loan to them to help them and played really well. I played there for 12 games. And on the last game, they said, if you win today, we're taking you to Vegas Tuesday. So we ended up winning the game. We stayed up. It was a really good time in my life. And then I came to Vegas to celebrate with my team. And then the first night here, I met my wife, and we kind of became friends and kept in touch. And then I went back and played in England for a year. I actually got a transfer to a pretty big club, and just had a shitty year, just had a bad year. And I just started doubting myself as a professional footballer and started to not enjoy it as a career and not enjoy being judged as a person by my performance, which is basically what happens in sports, right? You're judged as a person based on how well you're playing. That's just life. And then a year into my 2-year contract, I just went into the team and said, I don't want to do this anymore. They paid me up my full contract, tax-free, and I moved to America, and that was it. And then didn't work for about a year, did a little bit in like nightlife stuff, making a few $100s. And then my wife, Nicole, at the time we were just together, but she said, I think you'd be good at real estate. My friends are doing it. They make, pretty good money. And back then the goal for me was to make, I think 200 a year was like my goal. And yeah, just got into it that way. And in my first year, I sold 44 homes and made 211,000. So it's kind of like I was straight into it.
Woo!
Yeah,
Love it. Great story. Absolutely terrific. But you moved without any past client and sphere. So your first year or two, other than your wife, you didn't have a lot of friends, so to speak.
Yeah, I actually think that's a benefit. I saw a lot of my friends in like real estate school who said, I already have 5 clients lined up, right? So what they did is they'd get their license and then they'd work those 5 people they know, and it could take a month or it could take 6 months for a buyer. They got them sold, but then they kind of lost a lot of time. So I think on my first day in real estate, I was at Berkshire Hathaway at the time, and they just had these scripts and we did script practice. I had no idea what it was, but it was Mike Ferry's script. So I actually think that although those people probably made checks quicker, the other people, I think I accelerated one, the rejection, which is so big in this business. And then I think I just accelerated like learning how to talk real estate, because I talk very different now than what I used to, right? It's like we're almost two
Give me an
people.
example.
Well, one, my accents changed because people couldn't understand me on the phone. So I had to become a little bit Americanized. And I would say that I think it's great that Mike has a scripted, and I think it's really good that we internalize them and put our own stamp on it. But if I was down the pub with four of my friends having a beer, I'd be more loose and stuff. That's just who I am, right? But I think when we're in real estate mode, when I'm in a suit and tie, we have to slow down the way we speak. We have to pronounce stuff a bit better. I have to definitely listen more, right? So I kind of feel like I'm two people. I'm like Dad John or husband John, or at home with my friends, and then I'm in work mode John. They're different people.
Got it. Okay. So, how much of your success over the last few years can be attributed to working to be a professional athlete? I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities and a lot of differences.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think the one advantage it gave me is because I played for like how many teams? I played for 10 or 11 teams. So you'd get a phone call on a Monday and say, hey, you're going to this team tomorrow. And you didn't really have a say in it, right? So then the next morning I'd have to drive to wherever it is, stay in a hotel, and then meet 50 new people. And now I'm playing with these people. So I think what it taught me is like how to integrate in a group quickly and meet people and like, not be shy and shake people's hands and stuff. So I would say that the real benefit it probably gave me is one time we were never allowed to be late. If we were 1 minute late, you get fined, you get fined like that. I think that's really helped me with my kind of time management. And I think two, like walking into a stranger's house that I've spoke to on the phone the day before with a cold call, which is in essence what we do. I don't ever get that nerves of like, oh, I'm meeting this new person and stuff, because I've met so many new people in my life and been thrown into those situations. Because the reality is, we can make a prospecting call today. We set the appointment. Tomorrow, we're walking into someone's house that we've never met, who doesn't know us. I mean, when you think about it from afar, it's pretty unique what we do, so you've got to have some blind faith and trust there.
Right. So you have a gift of gab. You got a great smile, nice personality. How much of that got you past the front door and into conversation with the client, and how much of having to know what to say and how to say it was at play here?
Not totally sure. I mean, I always feel most comfortable on the appointment. I love the listing appointment personally. I think where my accent and kind of has really helped me in the way I speak is in the lead follow-up, because I would say that that's probably my biggest strength is lead follow-up for me personally. And I think because I've had clients tell me, because when I call back, I sound different. I feel like they could remember me a bit more just because I do have an accent. So anyone on this call who has an accent, there's a lot of people from Europe and America now who have really strong kind of Eastern European accents, and it can be tough, right? You got to slow your speech, but use that to your advantage. I think being different is kind of cool. So in terms of like on the appointment, I think it's probably helped me that I can just hold a conversation, but I'm always trying to get them back to why we're in the house, and for me, just like I'm doing right now, it is easy for me just to keep talking.
So, John, you've given me an idea for a new class. We're going to teach everybody to sound like you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so good. I can teach that. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, in my career, I've had a lot of agents trying not to sound like you. They want to sound like everybody else. And it's interesting. I mean, you probably gave everybody on this channel a little bit more confidence to just let them sound like themselves. And then they're going to be more confident that the person's going to remember them when they call back, and you're going to have a much better conversation and probably sell a couple more houses a year because of it.
Yeah, and I'd say you're not thinking about trying to be different. You're just being yourself, And I do think there are times where we do have to be versatile and be different, but I also feel like, if we've all got little hiccups or we've got things that make us unique, whether that's good or bad. And I think sometimes it's good just to embrace it. It is what it is.
So, John, let's go back to something you said a moment or two ago, and that was that you think not having any friends or past client or sphere is an advantage to you, certainly in the beginning, because you didn't have an option. So is that because the way you see things a little differently than others? Somebody tell you that was an advantage? Where did that come from?
Going back to the start, I think it's been 8 years now.
Speak up just a little bit. Sorry, John.
Sorry, going back to the start, it's been 8 years since I started real estate. And I think when I look back, I wanted to make 200,000. That's what I said. And I think I only said that because everyone in real estate class said they wanted to make 100,000. That's what people say, right? But I didn't really have that. I didn't know much about the business and have that much expectations. I think now people get into real estate for the wrong reasons. I think they watch these TV shows. I think they see of these big luxury homes that sell and they kind of think I can make all this money. And I didn't really have that. I was just like, I wasn't working. Let's just get into it and see what happens. But I was gobsmacked early on when I started learning the scripts and calling because I called from day one. I couldn't believe that it actually worked, that I could actually call a stranger and they would have an appointment with me. Like for me, I was just smacked by that. And even today, I still get shocked by that. Like I feel like when a seller says, yes, you can come to my home and they've never met you before, it's different with past clients. I feel like that's like the biggest compliment. Like talk about a win. Someone saying, yes, like you can come into my house to discuss the sale, which is the biggest asset they own. I just think that's an exciting opportunity.
So and I'll go back to this again, how important is you working on those scripts in the beginning to learn what to say and how to say it so that you would have confidence going into those rooms? Pretty important.
Yeah, really important scripts at the start. I will be honest though, at times when I'm trying to go back, which is why I'm thinking here, because I don't even think about this stuff much, which I probably should like look back more. I would say the hardest thing learning the scripts was when I was calling and being on the scripts. I wasn't really listening that well because I was trying to I was already thinking about what do I have to ask next, So I would say that was the biggest challenge back then. But I think the scripts, even now, it gives you a really good baseline of why are we on this conversation? When do you plan on moving? How soon? Like these little questions that Mike's put into the scripts, they're genius and they're so simple, and they're not confrontational, which is what I like most about it. I get cold calls all day long. We all do. And sometimes they're confrontational, or you say, no, thank you. And they hang up the phone on you. And I'm like, you just called me and you're hanging up the phone on me. At least say thank you.
Right.
Thank you for thinking about that. Or if you change your mind, please give me a call or, so I think I also learn from when people cold call me, I listen to those calls and try to do it all different really,
Okay. So Las Vegas is a new city for you. Mm-hmm. So you didn't know where things were and what the price points were, et cetera, and where the tile roofs were and where the pool homes were and what schools were good. So how much time, effort, and energy did you put in there to help line you out?
Not much, to be honest. I think Vegas is actually a pretty small place. And I think the one community I really learned well was Southern Highlands, which is where I live. I've always lived there, which is kind of right by the M Hotel if you're driving from California to Vegas. But I didn't really spend too much time. I think I learned just by being in transactions and, being in different neighborhoods and showing homes, because when you start, you show some buyers 20, 30 homes. You don't care. You're just excited, So I think that's how I kind of learned,
Got it. So first couple of years, 30, 40 transactions a year?
First year was 44, second year was 56.
56. And last year, what did you close?
Last year was a down year. I think no, I didn't. Last year, I think I only closed about 70 and buyer's agent, she closed, I think 20-ish. So we did about 90 deals last year. Last couple of years, I've been struggling with transaction count, and that's something I'm really trying to get back to. So
Struggling with the transaction count because you're making so much money on the prices.
no, I mean, obviously that makes a difference. I would say for me, struggling with transaction count in terms of getting back to that transactional mindset since COVID, you know, where our income kind of exploded. And I would say the last couple of years, not this year, but 2 years prior, I just took my foot off the gas. I think I, you know, just got a bit comfortable, didn't really have any personal goals. I bought a new house for my family. And so now I'm back creating goals, doing stuff, you know, like, and that's really spurring me on, you know?
So John, that happens to a lot of real estate agents that I work with, whether they've been in the business a long time or a short period of time. So was there a particular thing that happened in your life that triggered that? Or you were just making a lot of money and wanted to play a little bit? What was going on?
What, when I had some downtime?
Yeah.
I just think that I bought a pretty big stretch goal house for my family 2 years ago. And I was so motivated when I got it, like to make it, I had to make X amount of money to make it work. So I was pounding the pavement and doing it. And then once I got it, I just, for some reason, for 2 years, I didn't really set any personal goals, like for paying off real estate or buying anything else. And I think I just got complacent and comfortable. I still did well, but
Got it.
like,
So I'm sorry, what was the last part?
you know, and then last September, I went on the Think Big trip to Ireland. And I remember just looking at my bank account, like, when I got home, and I was like, Jesus, I've spent a lot of money here. And I then just put my business plan in place and started working it from October. And then January this year was my biggest month ever. So October, November, December made January my biggest month ever. And then that's kind of just carried on this year, you know?
A little bit of
Sorry, Neil, I can't hear you.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, you're back now.
Did I lose everybody? But there we go. Okay, so John, what's this year gonna end? Where do you think you'll end up this year? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so this year I'll close, I'm just looking at my analyzer here. So I'm on track to close 85 personal. I think my team associate Brittany is on track to close 30. So we'll do like 115 between us. And then I'm on track. My analyzer says I'm on track to make 1.9. So that's kind of what I'm
1.9 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm
out
trying.
of 115 deals. So your average price point's a little higher than the average bear, right?
Yeah, my average price point's like 800,000. Yeah.
And let's have some fun right now. What's the most you made? Because everybody thinks a professional soccer goalie makes a bloody fortune, right?
Yeah.
What's the most you made as a soccer player?
I think before taxes, when I was 22 or 23, I think I made right around 90 to 100,000, but that was before 50% taxes, you know? So I would say net to me, the biggest year I ever had was probably like 60.
Takes a lot of taxes.
Yeah, it's a lot of taxes in England, like 45%. So.
Right. Okay. So you're making, I don't know, 90 grand. You come here, you turn things around. Your first year, you make in excess of $200,000. And if everything goes right this year, you should make $1.9 million.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm tracking right now. So.
And even in America, you won't pay 45% taxes.
Yeah, no.
Especially in Nevada.
Yeah, America's the dream for that, for sure. And Vegas is very, very beneficial. And, you know, as realtors too, we have a lot of, you know, if you set yourself up correctly, you can, you know, we can really, you know, take advantage of the tax system and stuff, and, you know, what it's in place for self-employed people. So I think that's another thing I had to learn, you know, money maturity, you know, how do we manage money, get the right people around you, get a good CPA, get a good accountant, all these little steps we have to take, because we run a business. I think sometimes we forget we run a business, you know, we just think we're out there showing homes, but this is our business. It's everything.
You're the chairman of your board.
Absolutely.
Very, very good. Okay, so what do you got to do different the rest of this year keep the focus. Look, $1.9 million as a goal, as a number that you're going to get, probably, it can cause a little bit of complacency in us.
Actually, I'm currently in escrow on a new house for my family, so I'm really motivated right now. And then, like, I'm looking at my wall right now. I've already got my 2025 goals up on the board.
Uh-huh.
I'm already in 2025 mode. So I do that every year. September, I do my business plan. October 1st, I work my plan. So I'm already in 2025 mode. Anything else this year for me is a bonus. You know, I'm not giving up on the year, but a lot of the conversations I'm having now with sellers are already, you know, hey, we want to wait till after the election, or we want to wait till January. We're getting that ready. And then I think for me, I've just got to get back to being a bit more intentional with my prospecting. I've really kind of upped my contacts, and like my goal every day is 32, but I've increased it to 40 to really get the reps in. But I think sometimes when I do that, I get contact-itis a little bit, where maybe I'm not as present on the call, or maybe I'm not answering, or maybe I'm not pushing for the appointment, you know? So I think the big thing for me right now is just really like taking advantage of the prospecting time, you know?
Excellent. Are you doing anything to crank up your price point beyond where it is? Is there another level in Las Vegas to move it up?
Yeah, so we're going to move to where me and Mike are both members at a golf club. We're going to move directly in that community, which is right by our house now. But I would say for me, I honestly don't care if I get a higher price point. It's great. I want to get back to that transactions where you're adding those people to the database and stuff. But if anyone ever wants to change their price point, just move to a nicer neighborhood, which is more expensive, or join, like for me, like joining the country club is, you know, a couple of country clubs. I've got business from that as well. And, you know, with golf being so expensive now, the houses have gone up in value. So I think it's just because of where I've placed myself, meeting new people like neighbors and stuff like that, you know?
Okay, good. All
Yeah.
right. So, but most of us come from a lower socioeconomic thing. So is it we have to play golf to connect? I mean, how do we break into some of these neighborhoods?
I don't think you need to play golf. I think for me, like if I'm calling that neighborhood and, you know, they're very proud to live there, I think for me, just saying, hey, by the way, just so you know, I'm a member of the golf club too. I think just something as simple as that for me helps me. It just means that you can understand the area where I live. But I think if you want to increase your price point, you just got to learn more about the community. You got to be the community expert. And if you get a listing in there, you've got to really like triple down on your door knocking in the area, your prospecting in the area. You know, like you've really got to like triple down on it. Yeah, like if you've got a listing that you really like and you want to do more business in that area, really focus on like circle prospecting, door knocking, you know, going back. I don't know if you guys do mailers or whatever you do, like really try and become the expert in that area.
Got it. Okay, very, very good. So are you doing any, let's move to something else. You doing any investing, buying property, putting things together, looking, I mean, you mentioned how old you were, what, 36, 37?
I'm 36, yeah. So we're in escrow right now, and that'll be our 13th property that we own. So we have a mixture. So the other rentals we have, they're a mixture of condos, townhomes, high rise, a few houses. And then I'm kind of leaning more now towards, we have a couple of like, which were our former residences, like more higher end luxury rentals. There's a pretty big market in Vegas for that, because a lot of people are moving here and building these huge estates, but they take 2 to 3 years to build. So like, you know, I have one house I get 10,000 a month for. Our current house we're putting on the market next week for north of 20,000. So I'm kind of leaning more towards that higher end luxury kind of rental market, you know, right now. So
I love it. Abigail, when she heard 13 properties, those lit her jets a little bit. And good job, Abigail. Go get them.
Yeah, for me, that's what keeps me motivated, is like working to pay that stuff off. And because real estate can really be lonely, and you know, sometimes when things aren't going well, you question yourself, like, why do I do this? Why do I put myself through this rejection? Like, why why am I calling people and they're screaming at the phone down me? Or why am I letting my seller abuse me and, take advantage of me, right? So I think for me, like, I always just bring it back, like, why am I in real estate, right? Yes, I enjoy helping my clients, and I do actually enjoy my clients. I get along very well with the majority of them. But really, it's for me to move my real estate portfolio forward and to get it paid off so I could be financially free. So that's really like my goal every day, So on the days that I'm having a bad day, I just go back to that, or I just, if I'm having a bad day and I've got nothing planned, I'll say, you know what, I'm going to go home, and then tomorrow's a new day. Like, I will do that once every couple of
So
weeks.
let's talk about that a little bit. We had this conversation a few weeks ago about your job is to get your job done in the morning. Get up, get going, do your routine, be focused on it, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and then you do your prospecting, get that all out of the way, the follow-up, etc. And if you have appointments, you go on the appointments. But if you don't have an appointment, you go golfing or you go do something with the kid.
Yeah, no, I really do think that keeps you fresh, and there's nothing worse than just sitting around the office for no reason. We can, if someone's going to call us at 4 o'clock to give us an opportunity to work with them, we have our cell phones, right? So I think for me, trying to stay fresh, Monday's always a long day for me setting up the week, but I had a listing appointment today at 4:30. My clients moved it to Monday. So after this, I have a meeting with my director of operations, Aaron. Every Thursday, we call every client. After that, I have no appointments. My day's done. I've done my prospecting. I've done my meetings with my staff. I've done my follow-up. I've done my admin, anything I had to do. I've done this, which was in my schedule. I'll go home at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Otherwise you just get burned out for me.
With no guilt.
No, because I've done my job.
Right.
I didn't set an appointment today. I didn't take a listing today, but in my
You
mind,
did the activities to get that done.
yeah, I don't want to live in a world of guilt. The world's tough enough right now with everything, the way we compare ourselves with everyone with social media and stuff. Like, if I've done my job, now, if I come to the office and I don't do my job and I don't prospect and then I go, then there's something wrong there. But if I've done my job, I'm going to go home.
Good for you. Very, very cool. So what are you reading? What podcasts do you listen to keep yourself? You're not as social as the average realtor. So you're not taking, I don't even think you're involved in a mastermind.
No
Per
mastermind.
se, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm not in a mastermind. I don't read anything. If I watch anything on, like, I watch YouTube. I don't read. I don't know why, I just don't.
So you interesting. So you're not reading.
No.
You'll watch something that's going on in Mastermind and in YouTube.
Yeah, like, it could be like watching a golf video, or this morning I was up early and I watched a soccer podcast with ex-pros talking about their careers. I watched that like this morning for an hour. I just watch things which I'm interested in. I don't really, maybe this is a flaw, but I don't really do much like personal growth.
Yeah, well, you keep up the flaws.
Yeah,
you're failing at a very high level. Don't beat yourself up over it.
I've always wondered, like, I tell you what I do though. I listen to a lot of comedy. Like for me, my favorite comedian's Ricky Gervais. So like, I listen to him like on the way to pretty much every.
Because he has the same accent.
Same accent, same sense of humor, So on the way to appointments, I'm listening to him and comedy and stuff. It just makes me feel like loose and open, and I try and bring a little bit of, not humor into my appointments, but I try and make it as lighthearted as possible, because they can be serious, and a serious listing appointment is not always a great listing appointment,
Right. You open for a few questions right now?
Yeah, well, I've got as much time as you need, not a problem.
I appreciate that. Okay, questions for John before we move to another subject here. Anybody have a question for him, please? Who's gonna raise your hand or just jump in?
Hey, John.
Hello.
Hi, Gonzalo here. You mentioned that one of your biggest strengths is lead follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us how you do it, how often? How did you get to like it, by the way?
Well, I don't know if I would say I like it. I just think it's my job, right? I learned pretty early on that most of my appointments come from lead follow-up. I very rarely will just do one call and get a list, like a lead, very rarely do I do that, so I think for me, like, it's all in the follow-up. And if someone's shown any interesting in selling or buying, I will just keep following up with them. But it's not a set schedule, it's a feeling. Yeah. So like, if I talk to an expired this morning, but I can't set the appointment, I'm going to call them back the same day. I'm going to call them back in the morning. But if it's someone who says, I'm thinking about selling, and then, they change their mind and they say, we're going to wait till next year. Now I'll give them another call in 30 days and say, hey, you still want for next year? It's just whatever I feel like the conversation deserves, But I think what we've all got to, like, for me, my best lead source is lead follow-up. That's my best lead source. But you don't get lead follow-up without the prospecting. So the prospecting's first. But for me, lead follow-up is my biggest source of business.
That's a great thought. Excellent. Is it Vugar? He wants to know what version of the numbers analyzer you're using, 1 or 2.
Yeah, so I tried the new one for the first 6 months of the year. I struggled with it personally. I spoke to Mike and Sabrina about this too, because they're great at they wanted feedback and stuff. I feel like the new one had some really good features, like leads created, appointments set, and stuff like that. But I'm currently using the old one, just because I like the simplicity of it. Yeah, and I think one of the great things about Mike's system is the simplicity of it. So I feel like this version of the analyzer reflects the company very well. If they could add some of those other fields to this analyzer, I think it would be fantastic.
Very cool. Questions for John? Come on, guys and gals. You got one of the best real estate agents in the country sharing his heart out.
I have a question.
Thank you. Emma, go ahead.
How do you get, sometimes you want to farm an area, but then you also have veterans farming that area. How do you compete with someone like that?
So I've never farmed an area. My community that I live in now, I've got 2 houses in there. So I think naturally I think already this year I've sold 7 or 8 houses in there, just because I've met the neighbors and stuff, but I haven't really farmed it. So I wouldn't be able to give advice on farming, but I would be able to give advice in saying, don't compare yourself to other people. Like, without being arrogant, have the confidence that these sellers deserve my service. They would be lucky if I was their agent, and I would be lucky if they were my clients. I wouldn't worry so much about what other people are doing, because the reality is you don't know what they're doing. So I would maybe try and bring more value yourself and see if they think you're a good fit. That would be my advice on it. I think we've got to stop comparing ourselves to what other people are doing, honestly. Like,
or in this particular case, Emma, if you just call me, I'll tell you how great you are.
Yeah,
you won't have that problem. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about, and not everyone wants to work, veterans, there's always veterans in areas, but I wouldn't worry so much about that. And you're talking about veteran as in a long-term real estate professional, right?
Correct. Seasoned.
Yeah.
Been in the business for 30, 40 years.
Hey, just because you're in the business 40 years doesn't mean you're a good agent. I was a better agent 5 years ago when I was pretty much brand new. I'm trying to get to things I did 5 years ago. So just because you're long in the business, that doesn't mean you're a great agent.
Hey, John, got a quick question.
Great response. Thank you.
Hey, so can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Cool. Thanks for coming on today. Hey, so you're at a country club, brand new club. You walk up to complete strangers. What's your opening line?
I probably wouldn't do that.
No. How would you start to connect there? Just play together?
I just say good morning to people. Like, I don't ask for business at the country club. It's kind of my place to go when I play golf, to get away from it. But if you see the same people daily or every week or so, I go with Mike and Sabrina a lot, you're going to build a friendship just based on recognizing each other and being friendly and how you're doing. And then the conversation will naturally get to, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then you can talk about it. I wouldn't go up and say, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
But that's just not my style.
For sure. Okay. Makes sense.
I would say, like, wherever I'm at a country club, or wherever I'm at Walmart, or wherever I'm at UPS, or wherever I'm at the office, like, just be a kind person, say good morning, say hello, shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. I mean, that's going to get you long in life, no matter what we do. We got to get back to that. Like,
Mhm.
you know, we got to get back to this stuff. It's simple.
Keep it simple. Love it. Thank you.
Hi,
Good question, Aaron.
Neil,
Thank-
can I ask a question? This is Gloria. In follow up to the question
Sure,
previous.
of course.
Yeah, how did you, since you moved into your community, how did you get those 7 transactions?
What
Is
I've-
it by word of mouth or?
Yeah, I would say probably word of mouth, and then I've listed my neighbor's house a few, you know, just like my neighbors, my next door neighbors, and there was one early this year which was a $4 million expired, but it was on my street. So as soon as I called him and said, "Hey, just so you know, I'm a real estate professional. I live on your street," you know, that's going to put, like, all of us, okay, wherever you live, as soon as you get off this call, set yourself up an MLS search for every expired withdrawn in a 1 mile radius of your home, and have it continuous. Every time a house comes off the market, go straight to that door, because you live in the community. Like, so in my neighborhood, if I feel like I've just meeting neighbors, you know, and it's nothing crazy. I've just think by, you know, you do one sale and then you do another, and it's only 144 homes where I live. So currently, so like it's pretty easy to kind of get a reputation of selling in the area. I don't buy any business. I don't spend money on any advertising, nothing. But in my neighborhood, every time I have a listing and a sale, I do send a nice mailing piece, just to try and get that memory going in the area. That's the
I see.
marketing I spend, just
All
because
right.
I want that kind of, you know, I want them to recognize me when I'm out walking the dog, or it could be anything, you know.
All right. Thank you.
Good job. Good question. So, John, Miguel had a question. What percentage of your deals come from your database, COI?
About 65,
How much?
65%.
65%. So basically 35 are outside the database.
Yeah, it could be agent, you know, Mike Ferry agent referral, or it could, well, technically that's still a referral, but I count it different to my actual full database. So agent referrals, sign calls, expireds for sale by owners, for rent by owners, which is a really good source right now. We should all be calling for rent by owners. Is fantastic. So Justice has just sold, sign calls, you know, any miscellaneous stuff, you know.
So let's talk about your Mike Ferry database. How many deals do you think you get from the Mike Ferry business?
I would say I probably get, from Mike Ferry, I probably get about probably more than that, 6 to 8 closed transactions a year, I'd say. It's probably realistic.
You think you could do more?
Yeah, I probably could do more. I've had some really good ones, like how Swayze gave me a listing referral 3 years ago, and it was 16 listings, and I got them all. So that was a good one.
That was
I
for
could
everybody.
Actually, I've probably done more this year. I've done a few with Brian. Yeah, I could probably do more. I should be doing probably 1 a month. In terms of like I would say to you though, in terms of financially, my coaching probably gets paid 10 times over a year by Mike Ferry agents and referrals. 100%.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. So all the coaching that you pay Mike, you have gotten returned because of the business that you get referred to from that, correct?
yeah, I would say if I never got a referral for the next 25 years, I'd still probably be ahead
of the game.
And I think that's what sometimes people forget about coaching, is we put so much emphasis on that 1 30-minute call with our coach, and it adds so much pressure to the coach, right? You know, and yes, that 30 minutes is very important, and it's as good a coaching call as both us and the coach make it, whether we're coming to, are we present? Are we in the office? Are we in a suit and tie? Are we standing up? Are we asking questions, right? But there's so much more that I just think people look at coaching wrong. It's a community, it's a family. You know, you get referrals, you go to these events. It's so much more. And that's why when people leave coaching, I don't think they're really stepping back and looking into the big picture of, like, you know, taking advantage of what Mike's put together. Because what Mike's basically done is said, hey, give me, you know, $1,000 a month or whatever it is, $1,200, whatever the fee is now. And I'm going to put you in the room with 5,000 of the best agents in the country twice a year. I mean, where else could you go do that? You know?
Well, if you did nothing else but just work those rooms.
Yeah, but some of us would go and pay 10,000 to go see Grant Cardone or 20,000 to go see Tony Robbins, but we won't do it in our own industry. It doesn't really make sense to me, you know? And I say to everyone too, if you're not happy with your coach and you're going to leave coaching because of that, call Sabrina, call Mike. Normally Sabrina handles that. Like, ask to change coaches. They want the best for us. And when I see my friends leave because they're not having a good rapport with their coach, I always feel like they should just try and have a different coach, you know?
I agree. Absolutely agree. There is a lot of money based on that referral. If you guys and gals just worked the room, you would get a deal a month because of it.
Yeah.
And what about, do you have a reputation in the higher end from agents and other companies that aren't strong, that do agents come approach you to co-op a deal together with them?
Nah, we don't do that. And I don't think I really have that reputation. We have some really big hitting luxury teams and agents in our market, really good agents who are not even part of Mike Ferry, they're just good agents. I don't think I've got a reputation of doing that. I think what I've liked about my progression in terms of sales price is I think Vegas is the perfect market for Mike Ferry's system because, you know, a client buys a house, they live there 3 years, they sell, they buy again. It's very, very common in our market. So for what we do, we get a lot of expireds, we get a lot of people moving here. It's a very transactional state. It's perfect. I would say though that like the stigma with Mike sometimes is that you can't use his system in luxury. And I just don't agree with that. You know, so I think for me, it's been a nice progression to take Mike's system and plug it into a higher price point. And I do think that Mike's system works with any clientele and any price point. And you know, if anyone's having that thought that to get luxury, you can't do Mike's system, I wouldn't have that mindset, but I also wouldn't pigeonhole yourself just to do luxury. Like I just sold a condo yesterday for 105. I've just put one in escrow for 138. I'm as ecstatic about that deal as a $2 million deal because it's another deal done, right? It's another deal closer to my goal, you know?
It's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Good stuff. Other questions for John? Go ahead, Mark.
John, what do you, and you might have answered this already, so probably if yeah. What do you do when you don't feel like whatever it is? Like, oh, I gotta, getting to bed early, or what has you frame your day so that it just works and that you're the master of it, so to speak?
I mean, if I don't want to go to bed early, I won't go to bed early. I try not to live my life with guilt. No, if I stay up late, though,
sorry, speak up, buddy.
If he's
Sorry.
serious, he will meet you for a buyer's consultation. That's the way I see it.
Hello? Yeah. So I would say that, if I stay up late, I've got to deal with the repercussions that tomorrow I'm going to be late starting my day. So
yeah,
I'm not really sure how to answer that question because I don't really live with that guilt,
I guess like discipline in general.
Do you feel like you're disciplined?
Yes and no. Yeah, some areas yes, some areas no. Mm-hmm.
So where do you struggle in your discipline?
So, I mentioned like getting to bed early, and then staying on schedule with, I cold call for my team. I'm a prospector for our team. Okay. And then, so sometimes I'll find myself just kind of drifting in the calls, like, no one's answering, or to your point, like getting burned out a little bit, and then, so staying on that task and really putting intention into the calls is where I start to drift.
I would say from experience that whether you go to bed at 7 o'clock at night or 7 in the morning, you're going to be drifting on cold calls sometimes because that's just how it goes, right? It's just part of it. I would say you though, and one thing I've really helped me this year is if you're on a source and no one's answering, just change sources. Change sources. If you're calling for 7 or 8 minutes, no one's answering, stop calling the expireds, go call some for rent by owners, or go call this is just sold, where they're going to be a higher pickup rate,
I dig it. Okay.
Yeah, just change sources because we all have days. Like some days I always prospect for the same amount of time every day. Okay. But sometimes I'll make 18 contacts and sometimes I'll make 45. Some days people just answer. And that's why I look at my contact goal. I try and make 160 contacts a week. I look at mine as a week because I know that some days it's going to be easier to get the contacts in than other days.
Got
Do
it.
you
Okay,
do
great.
you work the
Thank you.
weekends? I'm sorry.
Thanks for the question, Mark. Go ahead.
Do you work on the weekends as well?
Not physically, no. My weekends are more for my family, my wife, me time, golf. Like I'll be available via phone call to do anything, but I would rather go on a listing appointment Friday night at 8 o'clock than work on the weekend. And
Absolutely.
just again, for me, I'm really trying to protect my mindset for a year. And it's not even a year, right? It's forever. It's just like, I need that freshness, you know? I would say that I've probably worked 3 or 4 Saturdays this year where that is literally the only day that clients could meet for an appointment, you know?
One last question. How many hours do you prospect?
So generally my prospecting 7:30 to 12 every day. So it's
Okay.
4.5 hours a day. Yeah. So, but I take, I take 2 to 3 10-minute breaks in there, like mindset breaks. And, but yeah, that's the time my staff leave me alone for, my prospecting session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Are you real disciplined, John, on that 4 hours?
Yeah, no, I am. My start and end time, I'm really good on that. Again,
Okay.
never used to be. That's one of my strengths now is I'm really, really honed in. I'd start on time every day and then I end at that 12 every day, So and some days I want the 12 to come sooner and sometimes I don't want it to come because you're making
the training from the soccer world where you had to be on time didn't help you in the very beginning of your business, but
That means you have to get up at 6 in the morning, be ready by 7:30.
Now.
And then you can't, and then you
Emma,
can't,
Emma Lucy. Got it. Thank you, guys. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Did it help me in the start or?
It doesn't sound like it helped you in the start because you didn't do what you were supposed to do when you were supposed to do it all the time.
Yeah, no, I was definitely more flexible in my schedule at the start. I think as time's gone on, I've really, found a schedule that works for me. I used to have an unrealistic schedule, everything was in there. Wake up at 4:15 breakfast, 4:30 in the gym, 5 o'clock do this, 6. It was just like, it was overwhelming, right? So now I just keep it super simple, prospecting, just like simple as it is. Get to the office, prospecting, admin, appointments, like very simple. But I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think as every year's gone on, because I don't spend any marketing money or I don't buy any leads, I think it's really it's made me realize how important that prospecting time for my business and income is. And it took me a few years to learn that. It really did.
How many people in your database right now, John?
870.
And the 870, you said 65% come from, so if you're doing 100 deals, that's 65 deals are coming from your database of 870 ish.
Yep, that's about right. Between me and my buyer's agent, Brittany.
So you're running close to 10%, which is my number for us all.
Yeah, no, I feel like because I created a database on day one, because I didn't have anything else to do, I feel like I've really got a good connection with my database. I feel like it's really developed over the years. There's some really good relationships in there. And then I've also removed the people that either we didn't get along with each other, or when I see their name, I just don't want to speak to them.
Yeah, when you see their name, you cringe and want to go the other way.
Yeah, and so
I understand. Throw everybody. Yeah. Go throw those people out today. Your life will be better immediately.
It will.
And that was my question to John. This is Looping. Thank you for joining us. Have you ever not taken a lead?
Not taking a lead in terms of
in terms of the listing, because of personality conflicts, because
but a lot of the time it's because they don't like my personality. It's not, I've got my closing ratio on appointments is 88%. So a lot of the appointments I go on, I feel confident about getting. But yeah, I would say there's 10% of the time, whether I'm outpriced or I didn't qualify enough or someone else beat me to it, yeah, of course, if you think you're going to win every time, change careers. There's so much rejection here,
that's a really
Hi, John,
great,
can I have a question too? I couldn't,
course.
there hasn't been a break.
Rochelle, go. You have to speak up too. We have a
Okay, can you hear
quiet
me?
group today.
Okay, maybe it's my headset. John, what kind of advice do
You're gonna have to speak up, Rochelle. Sorry.
No, I can hear her. I can hear her.
All right.
what kind of advice do you have for just a agent a couple years in, buyer's agent? What kind of advice would you give me?
Are you on a team?
I am.
So my advice, probably not right, but when I started on the team, my first year I did 44 deals, 38 were buyers. Okay. I would say my advice to a new agent is, one, start on a team. That's my personal advice, and I think you're on that. I would say, two, work anything. Don't worry about the splits. Don't worry about the commission. Don't worry about anything. Just get the experience. And then three, do have a plan, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years. Have a plan that. So for me, I went to my team lead and my broker Craig and said, I want to become an own agent. I didn't do it straight away, but we put an 18-month plan in place for me to get there. So I would say, even if you're a buyer's agent on a team, if you think you want to be on your own in the future and become a listing agent, put a plan in place 1, 2, 3 years out where you think you can achieve that, because that would probably be my advice. Don't just one day wake up and say, I want to just go and be an individual agent. But if you're a buyer's agent on a team, master being a buyer's agent. I love working buyers. I still work, I think 35% of my deals are buyers still. I will never give buyers up. That's I never will. The feeling you get from helping a buyer and they become sellers in the future, and you're basically getting paid to preview property. So embrace that you're a buyer's agent, but become the best agent on the team,
Great advice. Thank you, John. Excellent, Rochelle. Great question. Good. Other questions for John as we get ready to wind down here?
I have one.
Go ahead, Marco.
So, John, do you still role play and practice every day?
Not, I've never done that in a group since I was there. So I read my scripts. I have them in front of me. I read them before I go. But no, I don't role play. No. Again, just another personality flaw. But I like getting to the office every day on time for myself, because I always get to the office no later than 6:30 every day. But I hate the feeling of I have to be there because I've got to role play in 5 minutes. I get very, very flustered very quickly. And I don't like that feeling. So yeah, no, I just do my own stuff. So
Okay, that's okay
which
for
I wouldn't
John.
recommend. I wouldn't recommend that, by the way.
That's okay for John, because John is a great loner. Most of the rest of us, we need somebody to keep herding the cattle.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And Mike's told me to, that's probably holding me back. Mike's kind of similar to me in a sense too. I think we always see him on stage talking, but Mike's kind of Neil, he's a very quiet, reserved person, Mike,
Very.
He doesn't seem like that on stage because that's his listing presentation, right? How we have to be. But I've seen Mike embrace it and learn what works for him. And I think you have to know what works for you. But my prospecting would improve.
Sorry, hold on, you guys. Let me get that taken care of here. Boop, boop. All right, go. Go ahead, John. Finish up.
Sorry, I'd actually finished talking on that point. Yeah.
Oh, well, sounds good. All right. Last question. Who's up? Okay, I'll ask it. John, 2 or 3 ideas, maybe even what you tell your buyer's agent right now. Your buyer's agent's fairly new in the marketplace for you?
She's been in full-time real estate for 2 years. She's been with me for a year.
Okay.
She does work. She takes listings too, but predominantly she's a buyer's agent.
Okay. So what advice are you giving her in this marketplace to grow her business?
Yeah. So for her, things we're working on is, can she add 12 people to a database a month?
Okay.
Through activities of meeting more people. Be more aggressive, speed to lead. Right now, you got to be really quick. I just got stung with this. I called a for sale by owner. I set the appointment. I went out there to drop my package off. They called me back. We've already listed with Dan Mum. Dan's an agent in my office, a great agent in my office. I wasn't quick enough. Dan was quicker than me.
Wait a minute. Is this the story you told me about that you chose not to work for that weekend?
No, that was a different one. Dan's beat me out twice there. That was a different one.
So
This happened yesterday.
this is a really good point because you're a great agent. You really are. You are really a great agent and have done really well with your business, and you play your angles really well. And yet, I mean, in the office that you work at, I mean, you're in a very, very, very competitive environment. And everybody's friends and everybody's nice about it. But every once in a while, tell the story about you backing off the gas just a little bit.
Yep.
And
So
what happened?
it was about, I think it was Memorial Weekend, so whenever that was. And I went on an appointment with a lady, and she interviewed Dan as well, which is very common for me and Dan to go up against each other because we're both calling the same people. And she was a for sale by owner, and she called me back and said, I want to go with you. And she said, can we meet for paperwork? And because it was a long weekend, I dated her out to Monday, you know, because I wanted to spend the weekend off. And then when I called back to confirm, she emailed me and said, I've already listed with Dan Mum. And I wasn't really angry because...
Well, you weren't angry at Dan.
No, I wasn't, but I wasn't even angry at myself because I was just like, well, that's your fault. You should have went out. If someone calls you and says they want to sign as a for sale by owner, you go in an hour and you sign the paperwork. You just get it done.
Please.
But I also think that for me, I need 3 or 4 of those situations a year. I need those losses to spark me. So I had one again 2 months ago where a really good past client of mine wanted to list his house for sale. It was when the commissions were changing. We were talking. I went out of town with my family to Hawaii for a week, and I came back and he'd listed with another agent. And he's a really good past client and someone I would actually consider a friend. And I need those little failures. I need them to happen so it sparks me to go do more, you know? So I think I've also learned just to embrace those situations. A bit like yesterday when the sellers called me saying, we've already listed with Dan. I was like, okay, let's go find another deal. You know, that was one I thought I had.
That's stuff that hits all of us. It even hits guys like John Sullivan.
Oh, it hits more. Every year it hits, like when a past client lists with someone else, every year it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. I feel like the business gets harder every year. For me, it does.
Well, what's going on, and this is they'll say this to you, you already know this, but the rest of the group might not. The marketplace is shrinking. The number of the pie is shrinking, okay? The size of the pie is shrinking. The number of closed transactions is shrinking. And the agents like John Sullivan, like Melinda, like Karen Bernardi, like Dan Munn, et cetera, they're getting better and better. So the people eating on the pie are getting better. The pie is shrinking. The competition's going up. Right, Tess? 100%.
I have a question for now that we're talking about a past client who you lost. What do you do in the situation? Let's say, for instance, they're your past client and you've given them a lot of service and they were happy. And then a few years later, they decide to sell and they don't list with you. What do you do with those type of clients?
So first of all, for me, if I really like them, I would, well, no matter so first of all, even where I like him or I don't like him, I would first of all say, what did I do wrong? Because it's always our fault. That's what I think. So
yeah.
Did I communicate more with them? Did I skip a quarterly call? Why did I not know that they were thinking of selling? I always bring it back to me. But I also would call the client and just say, thank you so much for allowing me to be your agent when you bought your home. I saw you using another agent when you're selling. Can you please share with me for my own development why you decided not to work with me? Okay. They may tell you the truth, they may not. And then I'm just going to say, good luck with the sale of your home. If you ever need any assistance, come back to me, you know, because one thing we don't want to do in this business is burn bridges. There may be a valid reason why they didn't use you. Maybe someone promised them 1% commission, or maybe they had to make a decision that day because they're buying another house, or maybe they called you and you didn't answer, or, you know, it could be anything. So I would just always look at like, what could I have done better? You know?
That's good. And that's very, very professional.
Yeah. I just think that, you know, like sometimes it's just life. You're not going to get every past client back. We don't use the same people for everything. We may buy a car from one guy and then use someone else next time. It's not always a reflection of the professional. Sometimes it's just where we're at in our lives. So, but I do think with our database, we do need to do a better job at connecting with people. If you call a client every 90 days, which is what Mike suggests and what I do, if the client just never answers, can I email them? Can I text them? Can I do something to get hold of them, you know, to recreate that engagement, you know?
Do you ever do a special events for your past client or do pop-bys?
No, I don't.
No.
I pop buys, you mean just turn up to their house?
Yeah, you just, hello, you know, I'm in the area.
No, I would never do that because I'd hate it if people did that to me. So I wouldn't do that. I don't do client appreciation parties, but you know, there's a lot of my clients who I play golf with, or I have Golden Knights and Raiders season tickets. So I'll text my clients, do you want these tickets for this game and stuff? Or, you know, but I don't really do any like appreciation parties and stuff. It's just not my style. It would give me so much anxiety planning that. It would literally, it would ruin my business, you know?
Got it.
Again,
You know what's interesting? I think you mentioned this early on, or maybe you mentioned it at the beginning about being a loner. And I could totally get this about your personality. Now I understand you a little bit better. On the soccer field, and as a goalie, all eyes are on you. If you mess up, or you just don't get the ball, forget about messing up. The ball goes by you because the guy is a better shot. You take that in and you don't like that feeling. Am I correct?
Yeah, I never liked that. I always struggled making a mistake and letting people...
So you got into a business, interestingly enough, where you do this yourself. You role play yourself. You're door knocking yourself. You're prospecting by yourself. It's all on you. But if anybody sees you make the mistake, it's only one other person, maybe.
Yeah, my assistant, or maybe
or an assistant or something like that.
Yeah, I would say
fascinating how you've set this up for yourself.
Yeah, just that's the way I like to operate. It just, for me, it's just, I can get over things pretty quickly, right? So it's better for me to be that way as opposed to affecting lots of people. It's just me. It's just who I am, you know? I've tried masterminds, I've tried role play groups. It's just, I just struggle with that group setting. It's just not a fan of it.
Makes sense. Well, I appreciate it.
Again, don't think it's a great idea. Like what you guys are doing here, you guys are very lucky to have access to this. I'm not saying listening to me, but I know that Neil brings a lot of great people on, and you know, a bit like when we go to the Mike Ferry events, like sometimes you leave them and your mind is so scrambled where you don't know what to work on, right? And then you know, so if I've given you maybe one little thing today which could help you, then you know, for me that's a win. I think sometimes
you've given us way more than one. And I don't know that you do this. This might work for you better than others. You know, I've got about 180 of these interviews, and they're up on our internet. And that's something, John, that you might get some value out of because it's alone, it's focused. You could do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, you can pick up an idea or two, write it down. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares if you're taking notes or not. But that might be of value to you because there's 175 great agents that you can mastermind with and nobody knows you're doing it.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. No, there's definitely things like that which I need to know.
I'll send you the link later today.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, let's give John Sullivan a big hand. Woo! All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the way you compensate somebody like John is send him a really juicy referral in the next week or 2 or 3. Come up and introduce yourself at the event. Tell him what a great job he did. He'll blush. Anyway, my friend, thank you so much. Right now, what we do is we're going to go around the room for a few minutes and ask everybody to share what they learned from you today. You're welcome to stick around and listen to it. If you have a hard stop and need to roll, we certainly understand. I appreciate your time, your friendship, your camaraderie. You know, there's not a time I can't pick up the phone and say, John, can you help me? And you're John, you're John on the spot. I love it, buddy. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Have a great day. I'm gonna cut out because I've got a meeting here with my team. So
I got it. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.
All right. What did we learn from John Sullivan?
Neil, can I ask you a question?
Of course, Gonzalo.
I lost my internet when you were starting. The point where you were saying the pie is shrinking. Can you repeat the idea? Because I lost it.
Sure. And this is really important, and it's very important at this time of the year. Every year in the last 5 to 8 years, the number of transactions has gotten less in our marketplaces. Correct? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Less transactions. Yes. For a while, the number of agents was increasing. So the pie stayed the same, and the number of agents was increasing. So more people were eating on the pie, but the pie was smaller. You guys with me?
Yes.
Okay, now what's happening now are agents who can't make it, who haven't been able to make it, are not eating off of the pie as much, but the pie is getting consistently smaller every year through a thousand different reasons, not any one particular one, and most reasons we can't do anything about. But guys like John are getting a little better. I'm going to bring a guy next week, Anthony, who wasn't in the business 5 years ago, was a policeman, and right now he's doing 75, 80 transactions closed a year, 5 years later. Was a cop for 20 years, came out of the police force, took the skills from there, and he's in New Jersey, which is really competitive. I mean, he had to carry a gun, right? And he took 75 deals from us. Get it? Get it? Now, he didn't do that personally to you or me, but that's what happened. I got another guy the following week who was doing 20 deals the year before, which was okay, but his family, most of his family was in Israel, and from October 7th, 2023 forward, he was constantly every day, worried about the family, taking care of things, sending things over there, and yet went from 22 transactions to 42 transactions this last year. So my conversation with him is, what did you do during this chaos? Okay. So the point is, the pie is getting smaller, and some of these people are getting better. So my question to you is, what are you doing to get a little better? Doing the same thing you were doing last year, this year, you're falling behind because this pie is getting smaller, and the number of people might not be growing, but the quality of people you're competing against is getting better.
That's why you always have to improve on yourself every day.
Every day.
You have to take time. If you notice, a lot of people who are just college graduate, they're taking their masters now.
Right.
They're really
or a
taking the time.
PhD.
Yeah.
Or they're going for a PhD, 100%.
Because it's very competitive.
But that's not a bad thing, everybody. Okay, let me share something with you. I've been watching this happen for 50 years. I got to stop saying that because that, every year it gets more competitive. And every year I get more excited. The worse the business gets, the more supercharged I am. Why? Because I know if we do what we're supposed to do during the time we're supposed to do it, we're going to kick everybody's ass. But if you don't do it, get the hell out of the business and give me more room to maneuver. Okay? It's a preview property. John doesn't? Well, I think you need to. All right? You know, Mike made an interesting comment to him. He said, John said, well, I don't do this and I don't do this. And Mike said, well, that might actually be getting in your way. It might be hurting you. Okay? So because we do it or we don't do it doesn't mean it's right. Okay? I think he's a fabulous agent. Do I think he could do more? Yeah. But I think everybody can do more. That makes sense? Right now you can run, so I was talking about the end of the year. Write down run through the finish line. Okay, this is my thing. I've been doing it for, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. Run through the finish line. If you go to sports and you go look at men and women competing, first place, second place, third place, what's the most infamous picture, famous picture, not infamous. It's infamous for the guy that was competing against Mark Phelps. Remember, Mark Phelps was racing for his 7th or his 11th gold medal, whatever it was that year. And he's focused like this, focused. And it shows him being focused and the guy competing with him. What was he doing at the moment the picture was snapped?
Looking back.
He was looking over at Mark Phelps. Not Mark. Mark, his name?
Michael.
Michael, thank you. He was looking over at Phelps. Famous picture. Go look it up. Okay? And Phelps was focused. Phelps was looking at the wall. Phelps was taking all his focus to get another stroke, and the other guy was watching Phelps, and he lost by 1 or 2 milliseconds. Happens every day. Run through the finish line. The pie, as we get closer to the end of the year, is shrinking. The pie goes down between 15 and 25%. You guys with me? Between 15 and 25%, it's shrinking. That's a decent amount of business. But you know where the win part is? The number of agents shrunk 40 to 60%. The number of competing agents. So business goes down a little bit, but the number of agents competing goes down more. So actually, you as a working real estate agent right now have a higher probability of doing a deal than any other time of the year. I think I lost Gonzalo, and that was oh, there he is. Okay. Gonzalo, that was the most important point.
That's why I asked you to repeat it. Thank you.
Now is the time to do business. Now is the time to work. The pie is shrinking even more because it's the end of the year, right? But it's also the time that a lot of real estate agents stop working. So the pie is shrinking. It's going down. But the number of agents is shrinking more. So you now have a higher probability of listing and selling houses than any other of the times of the year. Now take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Questions on that one?
How do we get a master's in this?
Well, you do it in what I just said. Nobody's telling you that. No one's pointing it out. No one. Here, I was told that, hold on a second. What the hell's going on with my computer here? Ah, here it is. Everybody, you can't see it. I'll share the screen. And then you can see it. Somewhere, right there. And let's go there, and let's go there. You guys see the screen? It's this one right there. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know who shared that, but thank you. The guy is trying to see where Phelps is instead of focused, like Phelps is focused, and Phelps beat him for the 7th, 9th, 11th gold medal. How many times do we look back? Run through the finish line right now. There's still time to take a listing, get it sold, and close escrow before the end of the year. Still time. Get a listing. Okay. Right now, let's assume you don't have any listing leads. Let's assume that. But isn't it possible for you to get on the phone now at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday afternoon, prospect till 5, 6 o'clock, and is it possible for you to get a listing lead? Yes or no? Put a 1 in the chat box if it's possible. Put a 1 in the chat box if it's possible. Is it possible? Number one. Number two, is it possible to go out on that appointment and take that listing? Yes or no? Put a 1 in the chat box if that's possible. Number three, is it possible in the next week or 2 or 3 to convert that appointment into a listing? Of course it is.
Yes, it is.
And number 4, is it possible
To sell it.
to put that sucker in escrow and get it closed before the end of the year? Of course it's possible.
Yes, it is.
Let's run through the finish line, everybody. No options. Oh, exhausting.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Neil.
You just got me motivated.
Thank God.
Gloria?
Abigail.
Yeah, that's
came
Then-
back.
Gloria.
Gloria, run the finish line. Get a listing.
I
I
feel
know.
the power. I feel the energy.
I have
Oh, yeah,
I
run
feel
the
it.
finish line. Yeah,
two
run the
listing
finish
leads.
line, Gloria. Get a listing.
I do have 2 leads I need to follow up on.
All right.
Let's go. It's time.
Let's-
Run through the finish line.
Let's go. Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome, everyone. It's my job. My job is to harass.
To motivate.
Tess says, it's enough already, damn it. 30 years? All right, all right. Tess tells me all the time, she said, I can go anywhere, I can work anywhere, but no one is going to harass me as much as you are, and I'll never make as much money.
Agreed.
Truth.
My job, Tess. It's my job. Stick around.
I
Fred.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Thank
We still
you.
have another 50 years to go.
Absolutely.
Called financial harassment. Thanks, Neil.
Exactly. Opportunities now are wider for people who work.
Oh, huge, huge. All right. Well, that was fun. Look at all the ones. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that was a very cool. Thanks, Mark. Mark, do you pull information like that fast? Or you just knew where it was?
No, I just I just Googled it. Yeah.
So anything you guys find that, and it's kind of hard for me to find this. So if you find it, let me know. Send it to me. There are races, are examples of somebody that's winning the bicycle race in a triathlon. They're winning, and all they have to do is pass the finish line, and they've won the triathlon. And they're kind of focused, but they're goofing around a little bit. They're backing off a little bit. They're, not as intense. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they didn't, came from a mile back, is this person, and they're pedaling like a banshee, going absolutely crazy. And they start to come up on the number one person. And because they have so much momentum, so much focus, so much intensity to run through the finish line, they blast by the number one person and win the race. If you guys ever pull those up, send those to me. I want to make a montage. Thanks, Mark. All right, Manuel.
My pleasure.
Manuel, where are you, Manuel? I don't know. Oh, I know where he is. He's on